Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I note that we have only about 20 minutes to talk to this, and so I better get cracking because there's a lot to be said. And to be fair, I'd like to hear some of the contributions, including from the Minister Woodhouse, with regards to casual employment, and I believe Jonathan Young is also going to be speaking on it. Mr Chair, our supplementary order paper, or the amendment which introduces casual loading into this agreement, I think is vitally important. And it's one that actually covers off one of the loopholes, I guess, or the unintended consequences which we are seeing happen time and time again. And we've gone through the zero-hour contract provisions. We are specifically talking about those people who are on casual employment agreements. And as I said earlier on, we had a number of submitters with regards to how they were adversely affected when it comes to having uncertainty with their work conditions. And the one person that I raised was to do with a lawyer who was on a casual employment agreement who was finding it difficult to make ends meet because by nature of the employment it was very casual. Now, what we're proposing here under our amendment is to actually put a casual loading onto any casual employment agreement. And what we've come up with, sir, is an amount of 19%. And the breakdown of that 19% casual loading comes down to a 4.4% loading to look at the holidays, the Holiday Act, with regards to statutory holidays. We have a 1.6% loading, which is an actual factor loading, because that is relating to bereavement leave and sick leave. And of course, if you are part-time or full-time employed, you wouldn't necessarily be available for those provisions after 6 months of employment. So we are looking to pay that in advance. Then we're looking at 8% holiday pay, which of course is not actually a loading, it's what you're entitled to regardless. But paying this up front actually works towards looking after the interests of the employer, who doesn't need to keep the records and have these accumulated fees paid out to staff that are genuinely employed in a casual agreement. So that worker would have the 8% paid up front also. And to round that off, which gets us to 19%, is a 5% loading. So if you looked at it collectively, you're talking about a 6.6% loading, which is a 5% loading for the casual employment aspect of the SOP, 1.6%, which is to do with the bereavement leave and sick leave, and then of course everything else you're entitled to. Now what we're trying to say here, and what it clearly will remedy, is the fact that people that are employed casually are going to be paid a premium. The employers are incentivised to get that casual employee onto a permanent contract, either part-time or full-time. Now, if they decide and if they can manage their rostering system to allow that to happen, there's no penalty for them. They simply will go straight onto a part-time or full-time contract, which will give them the idea of certainty around the hours that they are going to get. They will still be entitled to their KiwiSaver provisions, and we, sir, hope that this gets support through the House, because it does tighten up the final aspect in relation to the casual employment agreements, creating a loophole to somehow potentially allow those zero-hour contracts or the uncertainty of hours in an employment agreement. Mr Chair, I would like to hear from other members of the House, and so I'll wrap that up there, certainly with regards to the support we would love to see that happen. Thank you, sir.